Jono McLeod, the movie is My Old School, playing at Sundance this year. Thanks so much for giving me a few minutes, and congratulations on the movie. I was completely taken with it. I had never heard this story, and it's so bizarre and just so enthralling.
Yeah, I think we've managed to keep a lid on it in Scotland because we're all slightly embarrassed that it happened to us. But now it's out there. I've done it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I think we should say, just for some context, this is the story of Brandon Lee, a high school student in the 1990s in Scotland who turned out to be significantly older and significantly different from who he was passing himself off to be. We don't want to give everything away here, but that's, I think, enough to get our viewers started. So I guess the logical place to begin is, why this story? If I'm not mistaken, this is your first theatrical feature. Why this story for your first film? What spoke to you in it?
Because it was my best option, basically, of getting a film out there. Because and it's another slight spoiler I'll let you guys have, but is that I am in that high school class in 1993. I was sitting in my high school class, aged I guess I was 15 when Brandon walked into my classroom, and yeah, over the course of the next 2 years, he managed to go from being this, class geek, basically. He was from Canada. He had this strange accent. He looked kind of different to the rest of us. But over the course of 2 years, basically, he moved from geek to kind of one of the most popular kids. And at the end of that period, we found out exactly why he had the skills to succeed.
It's such an amazing story. Now, for a little bit more context, how much did you personally interact with Brandon when you were in high school together? Were you friends?
So not much, because the sad truth is I wasn't really friends with that many people, because there's another character in the film, actually, which is the little suburb of Bearsden, which is where the school is. And it's kind of, I describe it as the Beverly Hills of Glasgow. It's where the kind of well-to-do, the well-off of Glasgow live. And I am not from that town. I'm from the kind of other side of the tracks. And I was one of the bussed-in kids who was lucky enough to get to go to this school. And so, yeah, that was basically my experience, was, going to school, keeping my head down, trying not to get bullied, trying not to have anyone find out my secret, which was that I was a 16-year-old gay boy who desperately didn't want anyone to know that. So that's my excuse for why I didn't notice there was a man twice my age sitting 3 desks away.
So you populate the film with a lot of people that knew Brandon when he was in school, classmates, teachers, faculty, etc. But Brandon himself does not appear on screen. Instead, you have Alan Cumming, who is lip syncing an audio recording of Brandon talking about his experience. How did you arrive at that most peculiar creative choice?
So it kind of comes from two directions, basically. The first direction comes from Brandon himself. That was his stipulation.
Okay.
When the story broke in Scotland, it was really big. And I think that experience of being in the middle of a press storm was a lot for him. And he, now has decided that he still wants to tell his story, but he doesn't want to expose himself in that way.
So one of the issues that I had watching the film was the question of complacency. Brandon has some of the same teachers, some of the same faculty that he had when he actually attended this school the first time as a legitimate high school student. And I kept having the question, did nobody recognize him? Did nobody ever wonder, is this guy maybe too good to be true? I mean, in your meeting with him and your meeting with all these different other witnesses to the whole scandal, what feeling did you get? Did people maybe feel sympathetic to him and so they turned a blind eye, or was he legitimately that much a chameleon?
You want to know the reason why I think he got away with it?
Please.
It's Grease, as in Grease is the word, right?
The movie Grease.
Yes. So Brandon came from Canada, right?
Yeah.
Now, we were used to watching movies from North America, such as Grease, where Stockard Channing is a 30-year-old woman playing a high school student. So we thought that's what you guys look like.
So
right?
we have Stockard Channing to blame for all of this because she was a 30-year-old. We've seen too many movies with 30-year-old teenagers.
We grew up watching, you know, I'm pretty sure the guys on 90210 were not actual high school students, but that was what we thought you all looked like over there. So when he arrived, we were just like, oh, well, that's what Americans and Canadians look like. Somebody said there was maybe more sun exposure over there and stuff. I don't know, but we just went with it.
That's wonderful. If you could go back now, several of the people you interview sort of allude to how much they miss high school or how much they loved it. If you could go back now, would you want to relive it, or would that be maybe a bridge too far for you?
I'd want to go back and give myself a video camera, and then that would save me having to do all that animation. No, I love my animation, so I'm glad that we got to the point where, but I mean, yeah, God, I wish if I'd been, that's the thing, I had meetings early on with this film where people were like, have you got lots of, you know what you need is lots of archive from the time, and I'm like, dude, we did not have iPhones in those days, you know, it's like, that wasn't how things worked. But yeah, would I go back? No, thanks, I'm happy at this point. I'm happy I've got to the point where I've gotten to, but I'm aware that not everybody has that. So yeah, life is just a funny thing, and it's that classic thing, you know, when you go back and the you know, the king and queen of the high school prom aren't where they thought they were going to be, and everybody else is, you know, different places. You know, life takes you in different directions, and you've got to be prepared to head off in whichever direction you get presented with. And if you get too stuck on the one direction, then you get stuck. I guess that's what the film says in the end.
Well, listen, man, you've been wonderful again, as always.
Thank you so much, David. That was great.